Hello everybody, Winter Keelub here in his lovely sauna. Or at least it looks like a sauna, right? Hope you guys are all having a fantastic week. No real news to share on my end except for the fact that it is really cold here, so let's go ahead and roll into some time lapses. Before we end the time lapse, let's tidy up these two spots, shall we? Well, what can I say? We've got ourselves a wall. A pretty nice looking wall if I do say so myself, although in its current state with its woody appearance, it does have the ever so slight feel of 70s or 1970s paneling, wood paneling, that was ever so common in houses. But this stuff, if you were to try to put your fist or something through, would hurt a lot. It's all 3/4 inch beadboard, tongue and groove. It is tough stuff, making quite a tough wall. Now I have one more task I want to do to this before we wrap up this whole video, but let me go through and explain the few things that need to be explained here. One, if anybody's wondering what this opening was and missed last week, this is an opening for a door that will have access to all of the things like the clean out to the stack, the plumbing stack. So this is your sewer line. These are the 2 shut-off valves for the needle shower. If I need to mess with the stems as well that feed to the needle shower, I can. If we're having leaks or something back here, I can adjust all that. So having access to this, really, really important. So that door there will go in that hole. And the entire plan with this trim and all that as well is just to make everything flush to the beadboard. Essentially kind of sort of mimicking these doors, how they are just kind of flush and flat around them. They fit perfectly into those little pockets, and there is no recessed or trim pieces or anything else like that. Nothing else decorative. It's a very smooth, clean look, just like those doors. So that's the goal here. Now, of course, I do have some gaps around here that I have to fiddle with and make sure that I can close all those up. Of course, they're not terribly big, and a wood fill, which will be my next step, will be a fairly easy, quick, simple process. For these boards here, you can also see that there are cuts here. This was just the easiest way to get this straight of a line. If I cut it up here, that means I could run this portion through the table saw and then just cut the last little bit off with my pole saw, Japanese style pole saw, which I love. One of the best tools. If you don't have one, get one. So a little bit of filling around here. You can see I also put everything in with screws. Whoever has to take this down at some point will be very upset with me because I like screws. I tend to build with screws. I have a finish nailer. I don't have a nail gun, nor if I ever really think I've needed one for any of the projects I do. I've also been shot with a nail gun once, so I don't entirely trust them. So this is what I've done, and it will be a difficult thing if somebody has to take this apart at some point. But that somebody won't be me, so. But overall, I think it's starting to look really good. Of course, this will be painted. And for those who missed it, this is the actual color of what these walls will be going. So you can see all the way around. And that is actually the original color of the room. I got it off the original beadboard that was down here. So that is a true original color, or at least the very, very last layer of color. And I think that little pale yellow looks really good down here and stops it from looking like some kind of sauna or 70s basement. And then together with the floor and all that, it's going to look absolutely wonderful. Now, as far as the ceiling is concerned, we are a very, very, very long way off from doing this. I have to make for sure that every single bit of electrical that has to go into the house is 100% wrapped up and done. And to make for sure that there are no other services that need to go in around here before I can seal up the ceiling. So I have to do some fun boxing out of this area to clean that all up. So lots and lots of work to do before we get to having a completed ceiling. I have to say, this corner is the only thing that I am ever so slightly annoyed about, and that is because somehow there's a small gap here at the bottom. Nothing too big, and I'll be able to caulk it and just be done with it. But then also, somehow, this line kind of ran out of whack. I'm imagining that somewhere here against this frame is ever so slightly off, and so every piece ever over tilted, because this here is all perfectly straight, and this here, as far as this angle is concerned, is perfectly straight. Everything is level. It's 100% level, and so no concerns there. But somehow we got slightly out of line on that corner. But to be honest, if I didn't point it out to you, would you have noticed? And yes, as you see me in this next clip, I will be wearing a hoodie and this beanie and gloves because it is actually quite cold down here. It's obviously not below freezing. I can't let it go below freezing down here because of the water. But St. Louis got quite cold this week. We're currently experiencing our 2 real weeks of winter that we get a year. The rest of the time we might get below freezing, but not terribly often. It usually bounces around there. It'll be below freezing at night and warmer during the day. But the last few days and the next few days, we're all going to be very well below zero. I think it was -2 today, and I think it had a wind chill of -25 Fahrenheit. Here's what it is in Celsius, which is a lot and is super cold because this house has so many gaps still in it. Windows that aren't quite right, trim that's not quite right, spring bronze that's rotten, just various things, insulation missing around a lot of the windows. And of course, dormers that are broken and missing and have big gaps in them. So cold air can get in a lot of ways. And we are here in the basement. And of course, cold air drops. So it just fills the basement with wonderful, wonderful, chilly air. So it'll be a little bit of a struggle for the next, well, say week and a half. But you know, if that's as bad as winter gets, that's as bad as winter gets. All right, let's finish this last task. We'll go over the last few things. Alrighty then, all the little dots, everything around this frame here is all filled. Now, one thing the keen-eyed viewer might ask is, why are there two different types of wood filler? This is Abatron, the stuff I use in the exterior, really high quality, very good stuff. But it dries really slow. It's also a bit pricier. So when it comes to a really big gap, yeah, let's go ahead and fill it with the good stuff. This is pretty cheap, just regular Minwax wood filler like you would get at any store, basically anywhere. Obviously color doesn't matter, but this stuff I used on the previous walls to fill screw holes, the exact same screw holes. And these have been here at least a year now, and there's not been a single one pop or break or really have any issues whatsoever. And this stuff is, you know, of course, easier to sand and easier to apply. So, you know, for the more heavy duty problem, let's use the more heavy duty product. For the lighter duty stuff, we'll use the lighter duty product. Now moving down to the shower itself here, basically nothing has changed. In fact, things have gotten worse. Well, not necessarily worse. I did actually grout this thing, so, you know, we do have progress here. And this was supposed to be the task this week because I wanted to, you know, have a shower. Big problem though is I ordered these sanitary coved tiles that go around the edge here. Basically just the end of, basically all they are is at the end of them they have a little jut out that pushes the water off the wall towards the drain. And I actually ordered those before Christmas, and they are still not here. They're supposed to be here next week. The company I order from has been a little wishy-washy, let's say. Probably be the last order I make from that company. Then again, I don't think I'll ever need those tiles again. You know, nowhere else in this house is going to get this era of finish. This being a 1915 to about a 1925 finish. So that 10-year period makes the most sense for this area because that's when this vet clinic was added to the house. You know, none of this floor was originally here. I'm actually pretty positive the basement had an entirely wood floor. And how I know that is because when we dug up to do plumbing down here, obviously not through this floor, we actually found some of the old wooden joists. Not very many of them, but some. And at some point this was covered in concrete. And I'm sure at the exact same time they laid this floor down and lifted this level of this room, just this room for some reason, up. But as soon as I get those tiles, hopefully late next week, this is the plan to get done. Again, I really want to shower, and it really does bum me out that I wasn't able to finish this. So everybody, fingers crossed that we have no delays, no issues in getting that tile in this week. It's been a long time coming. I have all the other supplies and materials, just waiting on 40 little tiles that make a ring around the very bottom. So fingers crossed, we'll get them next week and we'll get this all installed. But since those tiles are slated to come very late next week, it means it will be either a mad dash or I just simply will not complete that entirely next week. So the game plan next week will go as follows. First off, I've got all this filled. I might have to do a little bit of fill again, a second round of it. But go ahead, sand all of this fill down, install the last pieces here and on this corner, maybe even a corner protector. I'll show you guys that next week. and get all of this ready for paint, go ahead and lay down my primer and hopefully 2 coats of the yellow paint. Also, go ahead and get this door installed. I do actually plan on stripping it and making it match that color right there of the doors, which, because it is more or less the same wood, it will do pretty easily, I'm sure. Lastly, I do have one last wall to build in here, which will actually be a wall coming from the shower here all the way across to this wall here. Initially, I was going to run the wall that way and have a sink at the end of this hall that was exposed to the room. I've now thought against it, because if you have the door opening out from that wall, it might hit the sink. If you have the door opening in, it might hit the toilet, because eventually there will be a toilet back there. There's a pipe for it currently. So the easiest solution was to move the door and set it in line with this wall here. So that will be something I have to take care of this week as well. But that shouldn't be too difficult, even though I do have a lot of systems I have to build around. But fairly simple. I in fact already have the door, I just have to go get it out of the garage, so it should be a pretty easy process. So that is the video this week, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know it was a bit short, but you know, how much explanation is there for putting beadboard on a wall? It's a decent amount of work. Definitely doesn't take a rocket scientist to explain to you exactly what I did here, so. And I'm sure it will look absolutely gorgeous. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope wherever you are staying warm. Or if you're in the southern hemisphere, that you're staying cool. And I'll see you guys all again next week. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.